Hi everyone, my name is Virginie Baumann and I'm delighted to welcome you to Instant Cactus, the podcast that sheds some light on inspiring individuals with noteworthy journeys. What do these people have in common? Well, they believed in themselves and made the big jump to take their passions, talents, views and potential to the next level. Beyond a simple storytelling, Instant Cactus is also an exploration of the underlying questions and thinking process that have marked their path. I hope that their journeys will get you some inspiration and that you will enjoy today's episode. Cheers! For this new episode, I'm delighted to speak today with Erick Garcia Cordero, one of the co-founders of RIA. Hi, Erick. Welcome to Instant Cactus.
Hi, thank you very much for having me here. Very excited.
So for starters, can you please tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you? What's your story?
Yeah, so I'm Erick. I'm a 30-year-old Mexican guy living in Switzerland. It's my 7th year in Switzerland. About to start the 8th, actually. And I'm a doctor in microtechnology. I have this PhD degree in microtech from EPFL. And today I'm doing a startup for women healthcare, and more specifically on pregnancy healthcare. Yeah.
So how come did you come to Switzerland? Was it to join EPFL at the time? Or?
Yeah, so I was here in Switzerland 10 years ago as well. I came to do my master thesis. I was working back then we were doing a tool for nanopore experiments with Professor Alexandra Radenovich. It's an amazing project in EPFL they have for doing fast sequencing of DNA. And the project is working very good. Actually, it's amazing the progress they have. And then I decided that I wanted to come back to do my PhD here eventually. And so I came back to start my PhD in 2014 in an amazing project as well. What these guys are doing is sweat analysis. The startup is called Exensio. It's also one of the early stage startups that is quite hard in Canton Vaud. And I came to do my PhD in that project. In Exensio, they are doing something amazing, which is they are analyzing sweat, and then they are trying to find out if they can screen for diseases. And I came for the very early stage of the development of that project, and that was my PhD. So in the end, my thesis was on analyzing a wearable device for a non-invasive diagnostic of diseases. And what we were detecting on the liquids, we were detecting pH and sodium and potassium in real time. And so that was my PhD, pretty exciting project. Actually, a PhD is quite a journey. This is quite, of course, it's a challenge. I think, of course, from the perspective of the human being doing something as a PhD, where you have to push really the limits of something in knowledge is really hard. And for me, it also meant quite a growth as a person. You see, before I would say that it sounds hippie, but it's true that you have to create awareness of who you are and what you want to be and what's going on around yourself. You see. And after my PhD, I was having these thoughts of what's coming after. And actually, during the PhD, I didn't have the time to really think of what I wanted to do next. And when I was there, by the end, when I had my diploma, I just started thinking that I always wanted to do something of my own, like my own business. And I never knew what was it going to be, because I never had a great idea. I had my best friend here in Lausanne, a Spanish guy, and we were thinking about some ideas for doing a business. And in the end, nothing. We didn't do anything. But then one day I was listening to an interview in RTS, which is something I never do. But then it happened. I was listening to the RTS in a very random way. And then there was the scientist I know that I met in a random party in Lausanne. And she was speaking about how women are using data to track their periods on their phones. You see, and I remembered a lot of my friends that they were really putting stuff on their phones, to know I'm late with my period, this is not normal, or I'm super regular and I have it on my app. You see, so I heard that and something clicked on me. Like I was thinking about my thesis and all of the research that I did and how people is trying to do non-invasive diagnostics. So people is doing sweat and people like I was doing my PhD, and some other people is analyzing tears, and some people is analyzing saliva. So they are putting some stuff in the teeth. And then I started thinking, but I never saw anything to analyze like menstrual blood. I never saw anything like that. And it's something super obvious, you see. And I just took the computer and I started searching. I said, it's crazy. Why has people is not work? Like, why is it more obvious to think about tears and saliva, but it's not obvious to think about menstrual blood, you see? And I just really couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that there is nothing, like there is not a paper on Science or Nature that speak about women's healthcare. It's, it's something that got me motivated to do something about it, you see? And so I was hired by a professor in EPFL called Professor Carlota Guiducci, and she's doing biosensors. And I came to her and I told her, hey, listen, I have this idea, like, would you let me work on that? And then she agreed. She let me work some of my postdoc time to work on this other project, and it started from there. Like I started looking for applications, like what are women actually concerned about, and I actually started asking to my friends in Lausanne, of course, like, hey, like if I do a screening diagnostic device for menstrual blood, what are you like interested on? And it was crazy. This was for me, like it was an idea. It was just a startup idea, and I didn't know if I was gonna go with it. But it was just so motivating to me to listen to so many women I knew saying like STDs are a big thing. Like for example, HPV. For example, as a guy, you never have any clue of how painful it is and how. And for some women, it's really traumatic. Like they literally say, like I'd rather never be tested for that thing than like So they were actually telling me, if you can do something for HPV, like for women, I think it would be amazing. You see. And then I just started speaking and asking around, like if I do a diagnostic device, like use like a sanitary pad, non-invasive, zero painful, what would you be using it for? And I just got a lot of ideas. So I thought it really makes sense. It really makes sense to do a startup out of it. There is nothing like that. And it really deserves a shot. And Professor Guiducci really didn't believe. She said, it's not possible that no one has ever proposed something like that. Like there has to be a paper. It's crazy. And then the question was, why? Why is people ignoring this? No? And I think that there can be a million reasons, like the taboos of the older generations and so on. And voila. So I ended up working on an idea of a smart sanitary pad for the detection of disease. And then I met my co-founder, Loulia, and she did a thesis on biomarkers for women healthcare. So she was checking basically like how some biomarkers were getting unbalanced when there is a disease for a woman, and what's happening when she's completely healthy. And of course, it was a very good match for me because I really didn't know what kind of disease we should start for. I know how to do devices, but I don't know the biological part. And she was just the perfect partner for that. And then we went to CHUV, to the University Hospital of Lausanne, where we met Dr. David Beau, who is the head of obstetrics. He pointed us in the right direction. They have a great need there for something like this for pregnancy care. And why? Because preterm birth is one of the biggest challenges in healthcare. It's the main cause of death of children below 5 years old of age. And it doesn't matter if you're in Switzerland in the best healthcare service in the world. It's the same thing here as it is in developing countries such as mine in Mexico or in Africa. It doesn't matter. It's really the first cause of death for children. And the technology is just amazing for that. So we decided to start this technological idea by focusing on pregnancy, on preterm birth, and then Rhea was born.
Okay. So you moved from the diseases to the preterm issue.
Yeah, and I did that because it's really a need. Well, actually, by then I would not say I did that because I was already a team with my partner. We just thought that so much, you see, there is a critical need already there, which is very important for the startup. And we have the support of doctors. Dr. David Voigt is an authority in Switzerland in obstetrics. And with him, a lot of his colleagues started saying, yes, of course, it's something that is useful for my practice, and it's something that I will start using, you see. So it's all clicks for early stage startups. And it's basically what it is. It's a small market validation, which, I mean, you have to say that it's a market validation, but to me, it was more of, we can actually create an impact right now. And voila, we started with preterm birth. Yes, I don't know if it's a disease. I don't know if it's a disease, but
it's a major issue. Anyway,
it's really a huge issue, and the sad part is that we could do so much more about it, but actually never explain the problem. It's just pretty obvious that we're bringing innovation, but I never explained really the problem. And the problem is that today for obstetricians to detect the risk of a preterm birth, so basically there is a traditional way where pregnant women start having a lot of contractions, and then they know there's a problem. They see the baby might be delivered like now. So that's already too late. And then there are these amazing technologies called, they do biomarker analysis, like when you get a blood sample and you start testing for it and so on. And they found these biomarkers in the cervix that appear some days before delivery, you see? So when a woman has a certain, or she's at a very high risk of a preterm birth, like for example, pregnant women with twins, they most certainly will deliver preterm, or pregnant women through in vitro fertilization, they have 80% more chances of having a preterm baby. So there are certain women that really do have to be screened more often for risk of preterm birth, you see? So they check for these biomarkers in the cervix. What they do, doctors, is they swab the cervix. So they have to go in, an invasive procedure. And then they go to the lab, and then they do the test, and they check if the biomarker is there or not. And then they can know if their patient is at risk of preterm birth. So it's been like about 20 years of research on these biomarkers of preterm birth, but it's invasive. And that limits a lot because you see, like a doctor has to do it. So if the doctor has to do it, there are not enough doctors to test all pregnant women. And then this, of course, has consequences because you have a great tool, but you just cannot implement it on all pregnant women.
You don't have the resources, yeah.
You just don't have the resources. And also sometimes it's not, why are you going to test a perfectly healthy woman with an invasive procedure? You see, sometimes it also doesn't make sense. But still, then you have 10% of all babies are premature, and half of them are not expected. Like doctors have no clue that baby is going to be born early. So you're missing half of the babies, and you have the amazing tool. So what we are actually trying to do is, like, if you have half of the babies that are coming as a surprise, half of the preterm babies, that are coming as a surprise, we want to bring the technology that's actually, like, at least if the doctor is not going to swab you, at least the pregnant woman will have the option, like, to say, but if I can do it myself, then let's do it myself, you see? And this is what REA is actually trying to do. Like, we're trying to enable this self-medical monitoring for pregnant women. And this is what we're working on, actually. This is really what we're working on, to solve.
And how does it work exactly? Is it connected to an app? How often should we use that?
So doctors do this test, this biomarker testing, and the biomarkers are not there. It's 99% sure that the woman will not deliver in the next 7 days. Okay, 99% sure. Then it can go for a window of 14 days, but then the efficacy of the test goes lower, you see. So ideally, we would give this test once per week. But after speaking with a lot of obstetricians around the world, they think that probably also once every 2 weeks is important. and doctors that we know, doctors that also advise us, and of course, the Professor David Bo thinks that the best thing to do would be to start screening for this protein from week 18 of the pregnancy until the week 36 of the pregnancy. Yeah, so once per week or once every 2 weeks from week 18 to week 36 of the pregnancy. That would be the ideal scenario to use this kind of technologies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long do you need to keep the pad? Is it like one night, one day, one? How does it work?
So in about a couple of hours in the morning. Actually, I want to be fair, and I want to say that we are doing still studies. Like this is not a product that is going to be available tomorrow. You will see. We have to do probably a couple of years of clinical trials to figure that question out. But our best guess is 2 hours during the morning is going to be the perfect usage. This is actually what we are aiming for, and what we are adapting the technology to be doing. Again, I spoke to you before about how women healthcare, like these kind of technologies, were kind of ignored or just not thought about, or if they were thought about, they were kind of like taboo, so they were not developed. And so you have one thing, these women healthcare technologies not being developed, and on the other hand, obstetrics technology is also not very much funded.
Why is that, do you think? Because I've heard a lot about Femtech. It's rising, but maybe not in that specific area.
I think that whenever you have to put research funds, this actually I'm not pretty sure about, but it's just that, of course, it's very delicate to deal with research with pregnancy, because, of course, like you're dealing with babies, and it's the most precious thing for every human being in the world, you see. So I think, of course, a lot of people is like, yeah, I don't know if it's one of the reasons why people is not, or why the world is not investing enough in that. Something that has to change. It really has to change. And voila. So in my opinion, we're in the generational point where things are starting to change. Like these old taboos, these old mindsets are changing, and I'm just lucky to be in this era. You know?
In that time frame, yeah. Have you faced any taboos when you were pitching your product? I mean, was it an issue when you were actually looking for funding, or not at all?
Of course, it's an issue. First of all, I gotta say that whenever you are facing investment rounds and so on, it's true, you're speaking most of the time with men and older men. Like, for example, listen, I'm not a woman, you see, so it's also true that sometimes I also feel a bit, I used to feel a bit more scared to use certain words in front of women and so on. Like, and I'm young, and generation is not afraid of speaking about, like, my friends have their period and they say, I have my period, I have to go get pads and so on. Like, who cares? You see, like, and since I'm a kid, like, since I'm 12 years old, we have had these discussions, and it's not that taboo, you see. And I'm from a very religious country like Mexico, but it's true that all the generations, they really don't see it like that. They really don't see it like that. I don't know what happened. I don't know when the change happened, but it happened. I don't understand why people get afraid of saying, or just listening in a business pitch the word vagina or vaginal secretion or menstrual blood. You see,
yeah, they feel all awkward, but there's no reason to be.
Exactly,
it's very odd.
But still, there is no reason to be. But a lot of people get this awkwardness. You see, so you do see it. You do still see the taboo. Also, the fact that you don't see more women in like investment rounds and so on, like, it's crazy. I'm telling you, there's something that is changing, of course. So yeah, we do face taboos, but I mean, for us, it really doesn't matter. Like, there is always a person that really understands the issue, and I would say that we get a lot of support. Like, people understand the problem a lot, and we have never had a problem with support. We have got support from a lot of people, a lot of great people that they heard the idea, they knew they could add on it, and then they were just giving tips. Like, you see, we have business advisors, medical advisors, and they're just adding on things. You see, like, you always in the end find the good people for
your product.
Yeah.
You actually were the first startup, I think, to obtain 2 of the most prestigious innovation grants, right, of the Canton de Vaud.
Yeah. So,
at the same time, which is very rare.
So it didn't happen before. We're very happy about it. It's true that I think my partner and me were people that we believe in the team spirit, you see. For us, it was very important to have both EPFL and CHUV as a team. And we managed to do that. You see, like in the end, EPFL and CHUV decided to support the project, and it has to be. It has to be like EPFL bringing the amazing technology that we have here. We have one of the best clean rooms for microtechnology in the world, and CHUV is one of the top 10 hospitals in the world. So it just makes sense to have this joint effort. And I'm very proud that the project REA, my project, is bringing for the first time these two grants. It's very nice. I think it also opened the door for other generation of people. Like, I think there has to be a lot of collaboration between hospital and EPFL. So I just hope that it really makes it easier for a lot of different people bringing amazing projects.
And how come, I mean, your innovation, your product is attractive for very obvious reasons, as we said, but what made a key difference in getting those two grants simultaneously, which didn't happen before?
I think it's just that everybody understands the need for this project. You see, I think that also it's true. I want to say that we have done a good job at doing this. Again, market validation. We know there's a market. We know we have done all of the ticks that people is expecting to hear from early stage founders, and it just makes sense. You see, it makes sense. Like, we're creating a huge impact.
So your intent is to sell B2C, so directly to consumer, let's say in pharmacies, or through gynecologists. How does that work?
Yeah, I gotta say that doing a medical device startup like this, it's actually quite a challenge. I think that regulations and market and so on, sometimes you cannot just give that answer yet, because also the markets might not be ready. And for us, like our best guess yet is that what we want is that women can actually get it in a pharmacy. But once we're in the clinical trials, we will see, you see, because some doctors actually, you see, and that also depends a lot on the doctors. And I think one thing that we have seen is that there is a big relationship between pregnant women and their obstetricians. And that trust, nobody messes up with that trust, you see. And the doctor chooses, and the pregnant woman follows what the doctor says. See? So I think that REA will evolve. Like, now we are doing, we're filing for, it's called ethical committee approval. So we can start testing on patients and so on. And we are getting there. We have some way to go before we got to the market. So we will figure that out with obstetricians, actually. So we're actually doing that. We're looking for more collaborations. Today we have the solid collaboration with the University Hospital of Lausanne, again. But what we want is to bring more hospitals on board, so that they also see how good this is, how good this will be for the practices. And I think we will figure it out with doctors. And also I would add on that every country is very different. Like, it's crazy how every country is very different. Like somewhere in France, like also would be very different than somewhere in Spain, you see, or in the UK, people is way more open to innovation, like in the US, you see. So I think REA will evolve into some different kind of company in the different countries.
And also, as you said before, it's also a matter of taboos and basically the feeling you had toward preterm birth. I'm guessing there's a lot of cultural things that also need to be taken into account.
Yeah. But at the same time, for example, in more conservative cultures, I think a product like this, it also helps a lot, you see. It also helps a lot. It's true that a lot of people will never get a test like that just because they don't think it's proper, you see. So I do think that also, I think that it's just a great product for every kind of mindset. We will figure it out in the future.
And what has been the most challenging so far, in your opinion? Was it something, let's say, technical or in the development of the product itself, or rather business-related, funding and so on?
I would say that the biggest challenge, and I think that's the biggest challenge for people in the industry where I'm trying to work, which is like med tech devices. It's just a whole new world, you see. There are a lot of new rules. Like, for example, Europe is just putting new directives for diagnostic devices, for medical devices. Everybody, like a lot of people has a lot of questions. That's a challenge because you have to figure out a lot of how to do, what not to do. Like, listen, we are not doing a consumer product. We are doing a medical device and medical devices. And thank God that we have authorities regulating, you see, so that you cannot put on a patient anything that is not 100% sure. You see, like, yeah, of course you have to make sure of all of these things. And sometimes when you're a tech founder, like you're coming from your PhD, of course you're not aware of these big rules and big of messes that you are. So I think the biggest challenge is just to learn fast. That has been the biggest challenge. Oh my God, you have an idea for a product, and then you have to understand that there is these ethical committee procedures, Swissmedic, regulatory, like notified bodies, regulatory organs. There is a whole new world that you have to understand, so that you can understand actually what your product should do, how it should be implemented. So I think that for tech founders also, in the future, it's going to be easier because maybe rules will be more clear for everybody, also more defined for authorities and so on. You see, like we're doing something really new, I think. So we're just going with the wave for now. So yeah, the biggest challenge has been learning fast, adapting fast, and yeah, I would say that is.
And I'm guessing, I don't know to what extent you have some advisors on the board, maybe, but I'm guessing the synergies you get from the EPFL and CHUV at the same time probably help also in going to the right direction.
I would also say that InnoSwiss provides a lot of support. They are economically investing in our project, and they are also bringing a business advisor that is amazing, a super experienced person that we can rely on, and that actually we see that person as our mentor too. I gotta say that Switzerland is a great place to do a startup. You get a lot of support. You have a lot of experienced people. At least for the medtech industry is very nice. Yeah, it's very nice.
And how does the future look like for Rhea?
I think it looks amazing. You see,
looks bright.
Yeah.
What are the next steps? Let's say.
Yeah, listen, I do believe that we have an amazing product. Like for us, the next step is just to prove. You see, like of course, the biggest doctors understand very quickly what we're doing. When we go and we pitch to them, they understand it very quickly. And now it's just a matter of proving the efficacy. And once we are able to test, I think once we're able to bring the data on, we will have to, of course, improve the technology. I don't think anything works well at the first time. But still, I think that we have very good chances. We have amazing preliminary results on the lab. Again, we come from EPFL, so already the stuff that we do has a label of quality, and it's really working very nice what we have in the lab. We have a great team. I gotta say that me and Loulia, we do very good together as a team. That's also actually one of the biggest challenges on startups too, like your co-founding team.
Finding the right.
Finding your right partners is actually the most important thing in my opinion. And Loulia and me, we have this great understanding on how to do things. We have a very similar mindset on where we want to go, how we want to do it. I just think that whenever we're bringing the data on, we will just be creating really a huge impact. This is really what we want to do. We want to create a huge impact in the medical, at least in the obstetrics unit of hospitals. Doctors really see the benefit, and this is really what we care of. And then, as I said, like the market is there, like the startup is going to be a success. And that's going to come later. But for the moment, what we care about is just like really proving that this thing works. Also, I got to bring that whenever we're pitching this to pregnant women, the first thing that they say is like, well, first thing is that they ask is like, is the doctor okay with it? And second, like, is it safe? Like, we will see also what's the feeling of pregnant women towards these kind of technologies. That's it. But I do think that it looks great. We have interviewed, I don't know, I wouldn't say hundreds, but at least a good 200 pregnant women in Switzerland, and they do like it.
The feedback is,
Yeah.
Like
I mean, because you see the perspective. The perspective is either you get the invasive test or you don't get it at all. And whenever, for example, in developed countries where women are getting older to get pregnant, the risk of getting preterm babies just getting higher and higher. And then if you're 35 years old and this is your shot and you want to just be like super reassured that your baby's going to be good, I think a lot of people see the benefit on that. You see, I think a lot of women are actually pushing for us to keep doing it. So the future looks very nice for us. As I said, we just got some help from InnoSwiss, and now we're expanding the team. We're trying to bring someone senior so that we can get done with the product faster. But again, this product will not be available for the public in at least next 2 years, and probably in a year we will have results from our first pilot study in the University Hospital of Lausanne. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And just maybe one last question. Just before you mentioned data, and I mean, data is obviously core to your innovation. So I was a bit curious because we mentioned before that some tests were invasive. That's once. And on the other hand, data protection is quite a hot topic these days. So has it been difficult so far when you were talking to pregnant women to get them on board about sharing their personal, intimate data? Is that an issue or not at all?
I think that, just because you're asking about pregnant women, you see, I think that when pregnant women are thinking about this product, they just want to know actually if the test is reliable. And the privacy, of course, I think that for people is something that has to be there for sure. You see, like, I don't think that they ask the question because for people it's already like a mindset.
It's a basic. It's a basic. Yeah.
And I think that they don't go that far in the questions they ask for us. But I want to tell you though that even if it hasn't been a question from the people that would potentially use this, doctors care about that, and regulatory organs care about that, and authorities care about that, and investors care about that, and a lot of people care about that. So of course for us it was a concern from day one. I gotta tell you as well, we're a small team. For the moment, what we decided to do is we have this other great company in Canton Vaud called Prive, that they are doing this data health protection, encryption, and they do care about all of that stuff. So actually, we're relying a lot on them to help us with these kind of questions. For us, as I said, we are focused on our product development, and once the medical trials are there, we're going to have the answer for sure to make clear to people. Your data is completely protected. It's a private channel between you and your doctor, and nobody else will have access to it and so on. And just to be fully transparent, we're getting help to do that. And we're getting help from another great company in Canton Vaud to do that.
Make sure the data is used for the right purpose.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, as I said, maybe this is because we're young and we're
very data concerned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That for us is quite normal. But yeah, I mean, as I said, there are some very basic things, like our generation is caring about privacy, and for us, of course, it's like something just normal.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. Maybe the last word. Any advice you would have given your younger self?
Maybe I would just take things more in a chill way. You see, like it's true when they say that Latinos are also quite emotional and so on. Like, for example, this actually I wanted to say sometime. I never had the chance to say it in public, but it's true that. For me, it's funny when people say that women are emotional because Latinos are super emotional, and the reason why I'm saying it is because my co-founder Loulia, like for example, she can be very cold, and I'm there like saying no, we have to do this like this and so on. You see, and she's like the cold voice of reason. Like to me, like to not be so hard on myself. For example, it's true that it brings you somewhere, like the passion, the flame, it brings you somewhere, it makes you create good things. But yeah, maybe that, like just to take it more chill. In the end, Lausanne, I think, is a great place to be, and I think that probably I would have told myself, enjoy it more, go more to the lake and enjoy it more. That's it. Yeah, maybe another thing I would like to say, if there is any other early stage founder listening to this, I think listening to the generation above you doing a startup. You see, just one stage above you is great. Like, I think when I speak with a person that is just one level ahead of us, like they always have something great to say. You see, listening to people above you brings you a lot of how to say it, like it really opens your mind. It really calms yourself. Like a lot of people, like startups are very hard. I think startups are very, very, very freaking hard. And it just helps a lot to listen to somebody that has suffered as much as you do, because it's true. Like they bring you a lot of joy, but at the same time you do have to suffer a little bit. And then just listening to older people with more experience than you, it really calms you a lot. So I would also add that to my list before, like, connect more with other founders, because all of them have a great story to tell, and they will tell you how to get around some issues that you're having. Like just to give a quick example, we're hiring. So I just had a meeting with another founder in Colombia, and I was telling him, what are the questions that you ask to the people you're interviewing to? How do you choose the correct person? And the guy just gave me 20 minutes of a nice, amazing talk of how he came up with his own method to hire people. And it's amazing, you see. Like sometimes in startups, like since you're young and you're trying to figure out everything yourself, you forget that the basics are already out there, you see, and you forget to ask. So that's another big advice I would give to myself and to other people out there, like to look for more help from experienced people like you.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Virginie.
This brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow the podcast and discover the references from today's interview on instantcactus.com as well as on social media. A big thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.